Greetings and welcome to the first tutorial video for the new A5 Product HUD. I'm going to be taking a look at this with you now on the new Mesh Fae Ears. That'll be the first product that releases in the store later today with that HUD. You can see I'm already wearing a set of the P3 ears. That's the plug size 3 ears. That's the largest gauged ears in this set. There are actually 4 that come in the package. The P0, P1, P2, and P3. The P0 ones have some piercings instead of the plugs. And these are clearly needed some adjustments to fit me properly. So let's jump right into this first video, and we're going to have a look at the PSR controls on the HUD. For those of you that are familiar with the light A4 HUDs that have been coming with products, this will look fairly familiar to you. You just click on the bar to roll the HUD out. And by default, you'll see that it opens up to the Surface or SFC tab. And then there is also a PSR tab. This is a big change. Hopefully everyone will find this much more friendly to use over the old light HUDs. You'll also notice that on both of these tabs there is a blue menu button. This blue menu button has access to several features that vary depending on which panel you have it open to. Both of them, however, feature a Restart HUD button. That Restart HUD button is there in case you wind up having some problems with the HUD, because as we all know, Second Life is not always kind to scripts that are running. We're going to start with the PSR tab here and see if we can't get these ears to fit a little bit better. First thing that you'll want to do when you go to use the new HUDs is make sure that the object selector, this takes the place of the old subpart selector, is correct. Now in this case these ears only have one choice, so it's not like you can have it set to the wrong item, but in the future as new items are released and items are updated, some sets will obviously have multiple choices here, and you'll want to make sure you have the proper object set before you start resizing things. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the position panel here, the position pane I should say. You can see right here that there are arrows for moving the items, and you'd use these to adjust the positioning of the ears or whatever object you happen to be working with if necessary. I'm going to pay special attention here to the right and left arrows, which also serve as together and apart arrows, with right moving the items apart and left moving the items together. And that together and apart functionality comes into play anytime you have items that are paired. Ears, horns, if you had 2 gauntlets, for instance, or 2 boots, it would also come into play there. The rest are fairly self-explanatory. You've got up, down, back, and forward in relation to the avatar, of course. So forward, move these slightly forward, back would move them slightly back. By default, each pane has an increment that is set. You can see for the position increment, it's 0.005 meters. If you wanted to change that to make either larger or smaller changes with each click, you just click on the increment itself. It'll bring up a menu, you choose a new increment, and it would change right there on the HUD. Alright, next thing we're going to look at is rotation. Very much similar. You have all these arrows that show you which direction the item would move in. The arrows are in reference again to the avatar wearing them. So you can see that if I click the Y- arrow here, it tilts those ears slightly forward. And then you can use the Z+, and that'll actually flare them out some. Depending on your taste, you can adjust those however you might like. And then these would actually tilt them in or out at the top and bottom, which can be very useful depending on the shape of your avatar's head and face. If you want to clear your rotations, you just click the red X. Same thing for the other items, other panes. If you wanted to clear any positional movements, you could click the red X in the position pane. And finally, up here in the scale pane, you have plus and minus buttons, and if you wanted to clear those, you just click the X there as well. Yeah. Obviously, these need to be a little bit larger for me, as I tend to be a little bit oversized. You'll also notice on the scale pane here, there is what I call the advanced mesh scaling options. Some of the new A5 items will have this enabled and some won't. It will depend on how well I can prepare the item when I create it in Blender. It's something that has to be done right from the outset. So older items that are being updated are less likely to offer this feature than brand new items are. But I can give you an example of how this might work on these ears. For instance, if you wanted to make them thinner, because some people may find them to be a little thick for their taste, you can uncheck the Y and the Z axes and just leave X active. And then you could click the minus button and you'll see that the ear is getting thinner, while not actually changing the other dimensions on the ears. And I hope that this will prove to be very useful, but it is definitely going to depend on the object in question, and it will also depend on your personal taste as to whether you find it to be a suitable kind of adjustment to make or not. You know, myself personally, I actually like the ears tweaked a little bit directionally, so I'm going to go ahead and roll with that. You'll see a hide and show button here. This is not especially useful with the ears, but there are other attachments, you know, maybe wings or spines or that sort of thing, where you might want to quickly be able to hide the attachments in question. You can see that they work pretty simply here. And they actually do more than just disappear, which becomes a little bit obvious if I click the show button. If I show invisible with Control-Alt-T, you'll see that when I click hide, not only do they turn invisible, but they also shrink down. That's another improvement in the hide feature that you've seen in my older wings that I'll be carrying on into new items as well. And that takes care of the PSR panel. I'm going to leave this video off with that. The second video will cover the surface panel, and I'll be getting that one posted here shortly as well. If you have any questions, feel free to IM me directly. That's Galather Darkstone. Or just ask in one of the groups, Sinful Needs or Sinful Needs Updates. Thank you for your time. Stay sinful.